And we are live. So, welcome to episode 186
There you
of An
go.
American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got John K. Alvarez of 9 Cloverfield Lane, next door neighbors. He saw the whole thing, and he's going to be here to talk to us about it. It's like one of those closed-door UFO sessions that,
Exactly.
He can only talk about it in closed-door sessions, but, we're able to finagle a little bit here. So thank you very much for lending us your perspective.
They're out to get us, man.
It's funny because Bill put something up on Facebook the other day, like, "Oh, it's a distraction." That's the other thing, and I was saying that, it's obvious to many people that the media spins a narrative,
Right.
or the government, whatever side you're on, they
Exactly.
this side person, spinning a narrative, the other side spinning a narrative,
Right.
and so nobody believes anything they read,
Right.
or they see anymore.
Exactly.
And the problem with that is that if you have a legitimate story,
right.
it's like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. You can't get anybody to believe that either.
Right.
So it's like, fuck, man. You sort of lied yourself into a corner.
Well, one will say, did he really cry?
Yeah.
Or did he, just whisper? And the other side will say, yeah, but what about the wolf's point of view?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
What's up, Eric? He's saying
Hey,
good
Eric.
evening. All right,
I got to admit, with our conversation that we had last week with
Sure.
about it,
Yeah.
I worked last weekend for the second weekend back at the movie theater. And I'm with these younger adults that are anywhere between, I would say, 18 to about 25, type deal.
Sure.
And one walked up to me on Saturday or Sunday and went, "I can't believe nobody's talking about that guy saying that they found an alien." And I went, "Wait, what?" And all of a sudden, all of them started talking about it.
Yeah.
And and they were all saying the same thing. It's like people are going, "Can I get a selfie with it?" And I'm going, "Oh my God." I said, I tried to send them to go see that, go to YouTube and go check out that last one. So I said, "Trust me, the first 35 to 40 minutes, that's what we were talking about." And
it was
the same thing.
It was just fucking embarrassing, man. What did you do on the day of the greatest, possible, drop of information in human history? Oh, we covered a Bruce Willis movie.
Yeah, I was doing laundry.
Yeah,
exactly. I laughed out loud at it because in my head I'm going, "Man, I wish Mike was here. He would have gotten a kick out of this."
Yeah, right. Somebody.
They were all into it, man. They wanted to talk about it. But then again, these are the same guys when they were talking about Oppenheimer. They were like, they were trying to understand what the whole deal was about him making a bomb, and all of a sudden, I felt like I was teaching back at ACCC again.
Yeah, they don't teach history anymore,
and it's a shame because they're actually were starving for it.
Yeah.
Type deal. They were finding it on their own, and they're looking for somebody to say, "Well, wait a minute, which way are we going?"
It's, there's nothing so good as a little bit of what's that saying? Context is king.
Yes.
So to moving in that direction and going further down the rabbit hole, I thought that we could start to stock up some sort of first contact type films.
There you go.
Because I said that I revamped the list for sci-fi fantasy because a lot of those films people didn't have access to. But here's one. And it's sort of a brutal one. It's sort of rough, but it's really fucking good. And what's amazing about it is it's made on like a shoestring budget.
Yep.
It's got a good cast, led by a great, in this case, a leading man. We're talking about John Goodman.
There you go, man.
I'm talking about 10 Cloverfield Lane. So if you're ready to go, shall we?
Let's walk down the street, buddy.
Boogity woogity. So we had a little bit of an opportunity about a year ago. I think it was last summer to talk about John Goodman when we did the Godzilla MonsterVerse because
Yeah.
he's in Kong Skull Island.
Right.
He's in Kong Skull Island.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, John Goodman is just one of the all-time greats. I mean, you know, we probably had him around. You and I will know this a good 40 years now.
Yeah.
Starting out with his appearances on the Roseanne show.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't watch Roseanne, which I didn't, we were clearly missing. Even if we're only talking about John Goodman, one of the great actors out there today. A lot of people don't know you have about 4 decades worth of stage experience, also some experience on the big screen.
Yeah.
To a smaller extent, but you have some experience out there in some films. Why don't you, what's your take on the great, well, I mean, I hate to load the question, but on John Goodman?
No, the great is the word. I honestly think John Goodman, myself, for most people, he's probably one of the most unappreciated actors, but he's also one of the most recognizable and ones that people love.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's always somebody who will find something from John Goodman that they'll enjoy.
Yeah.
And now being an actor for right now, professionally, 41 years, and being an actor of some girth, I mean, is the best way I can describe it. When I see John Goodman, to me, it's like he does everything. Yeah. He's been the leading man. He has done comedies. He has played the villain. Yeah. He has done musicals.
Yeah.
Besides the Blues Brothers movie that he was in, he's been on Broadway doing musicals. That's how he got discovered for Roseanne. Okay. He's been with the Coen brothers. Yeah. He's done Shakespeare. I mean, he's done all these different, and he's done them well, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's amazing just to watch. I don't know if he will ever get like a best actor or best supporting actor in any type of field, but he definitely deserves the Lifetime Achievement Awards.
Yeah.
I mean, if not the Academy Awards for the Golden Globes, I mean, for something like that, because I'll put his body of work up against anybody because he's done solid performances.
Yeah. He's one of those guys, and he maybe even rates higher than many of them. I would rate him higher than Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, we're talking about real acting here.
Yeah.
You know, this guy he's got fantastic comedic timing. He's great in drama. Here he is playing it scary. And it works. This is a really good part for him. And what I liked about the movie was that I thought the other two people, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and I don't remember the third actor's name in this movie, are perfect contrasts for him because they're so young.
Right.
And that's what gives him more of an intimidating sort of presence.
Right.
You know, if this was like Jason Statham, it wouldn't work.
And I agree. And I like Jason Statham.
Yeah, so do I kind of, sort of. But I mean, the fact that he's got these, 20-somethings down there, locked in his, apocalyptic bunker.
Right.
It's an interesting take. It's not directly late, it's not a direct sequel to Cloverfield, which we've talked about here. It's sort of like loosely based around, some sort of apocalyptic event. And I love that the set is so small. It's only taking place in 2 or 3 rooms. There's really only the 3 of them at all times.
Right.
There's no big cast, no need for extras or anything like that. It's very claustrophobic. They're right on top of each other.
Right.
Give me your, without, going into it too much, what did you think of this movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane?
I love the fact that it was claustrophobic and that they kept you in. And the thing about it was that even when as tight as it was, they find ways of making it tighter.
Yeah.
There were times in this that all of a sudden you were like, in my head, I'm going, thank God I'm not really claustrophobic. Because I'd be panicking just because it had nothing to do with the acting, which was actually very good in this movie, but just because of how tight they kept this thing. I mean, and going back to John for a second, as tight as he was, and how larger than life as he was in a very tight, confined space.
Yeah.
His performance, you could put him in the size of a football arena, and he would still be larger than life. That type deal. But even the other two performers, they were bringing stuff to this thing, and it was great because I'm glad it wasn't big or showy, because it kept it more like conversation. They kept it more like, genuine life for a second, as opposed to making it overly dramatic to make it scary by just keeping it normal, made it scary.
Yeah, and as I've said many times, the best movies are the ones that are rooted in human problems.
Right.
And clearly you've got a man here who is very unbalanced, dangerous, possibly a killer within definitely a killer within the context of, in the same sort of parameters, saving people's lives.
Right.
So what would that be like? Like, you've got this murderer who saves your life, but now you're stuck down in this fucking bunker with him. It's like the nightmare version of what Tim Robbins was in War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Except, it's a little worse than that.
He's the guard dog of the house, and the guard dog has rabies.
Yeah.
I mean, he's that,
Cujo. He's Cujo.
But he's still protecting the house type deal.
Right.
He's still protecting them, but he's nuts.
Right. You start out with this, woman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, playing Michelle. I don't know Mary Elizabeth Winstead and any of her other stuff. I didn't see Scott Pilgrim or any of these other things, but she plays this very young, Gen Z, kind of girl, millennial, whatever, who's breaking up with her boyfriend, and she's packing all her shit up and leaving, and she's on the road, and then all of a sudden she gets into this car accident, and the next thing you know, she wakes up and she's chained to a wall, and it's this weird contrast where, like, she's chained to a wall, but she's got an IV in her,
right?
And you're like, what the fuck is this? It's not the Zodiac killer. But it's the minute she wakes up, because this is only the second time I've seen it. I just remember I had a good feeling from the first time. And she wakes up and she's got the IV, and I'm like, well, okay, this is okay. And then she throws the blanket off and she's chained to the fucking wall. And you're like, okay, this is starting off right away.
Right.
On the rough side.
And the one thing that I really liked about it, it wasn't like chained around her ankle or what. It was chained to a leg brace that was there to help her. So I'm giving you aid, but you're going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna. Yeah, it's almost like a Misery.
Yeah,
it's exactly. Almost like Misery.
And you were like, God damn! I mean, when you see that, because you're like, what? I mean, it's like you were saying that had an IV in it, but it wasn't like Jigsaw. Right. It wasn't like they were giving aid to her, but you're going nowhere.
But you were a prisoner.
Yeah, you're a prisoner.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're a prisoner.
That's seriously two opposite sides of the fence.
Yeah, it's hard to put you don't know where to park the car.
Yeah,
because he comes down and he starts talking to her, and he's like, yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But then he explains, you've been in a car accident and you were in shock and you needed fluids. So, and then you get this story that it's all gone.
Exactly.
You get the apocalyptic story that it's all gone, and it's chemical. He doesn't know if it's chemical or it's it's nuclear, or at some point I think he starts talking about the Russians. There's been an attack, and we forget about this, but this was 2016. This was about 7 years ago. The war in Iraq was still going on, or just coming to a close. The war in Afghanistan was still going on. The ISIS thing was, just starting to really fucking hit the fan.
Right.
The mass migrations into Europe were happening. So we haven't had any trouble with terrorism, at least on this soil, in quite a long time. But, it was still very much in people's psyche back then.
Mm-hmm. And it was weird also at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure somebody will pop up and correct me, and rightfully so. But even at that time, they were making the remake to Red Dawn.
I
That was done
believe
with the
that is the case.
Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it was with Red Dawn was the same thing. That all of a sudden there was an invasion, and the point about it was, so there was like, I don't want to say there was that feeling, but at least like, and when it was going on in Hollywood, they said, hey, we can strike gold with paranoia.
Yeah.
Right, Jill. And it's true. If you do it right, it will sell.
Yeah, and there's a shit ton of paranoia in this because
God, yeah.
you never see anything.
Right.
Until the very end, like maybe the last 10 minutes of the movie,
Exactly.
you actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
You do, like this is what you see, and like it's people sitting on a couch, but like they don't trust each other, you know. And then you got this other guy, Emmett, who like you find out later on, she sees him and thinks that he's a prisoner. He's like, no, I helped him build this for years. Like he saw this coming for years. Yeah. I helped him build it as like a laborer. And so whenever I saw, like he confirms for her that something's going on out there, I ran like a motherfucker for this bunker.
And begged to him to let me in.
Yeah, so that's sort of, like I said, you're never exactly sure where to park the car here. Are we in crazy town or is something actually going on?
Yeah, we spoke about this before, but this was like to me, this was for a cinematic version of a Twilight Zone movie or show.
Yeah, somebody said this should have been like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, there was like a famous episode from the Twilight Zone when it was at the Cold War, and the Russians parking the nukes in Cuba, where a guy built a bunker, and the sirens happened, and he only made room for his wife and him and his son. And all the neighbors that were friends of his that were laughing about it before were banging on the door and asking to be let in, to the point they were trying to beat it down. Yeah. And he's saying, but no, you'll be killed.
Yeah.
And this reminded me a bit of that because of that locked-in sense and the horrors outside, and you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it work, is it kicks in your imagination.
Yeah, they let you do the thinking in your head. Right. They don't have to show it to you. It's very much less is more. I think this movie was made for like $10 million.
Yep.
We talk about these hundreds of millions of dollar budgets. Right. This movie was made for $10 million. It's like one of the shoestring companies, subsidiaries of Warner Brothers or something like that. It fucking works because guess what? People are just acting.
Yeah. You got a good story with people who are committed to it.
Yeah.
This scene that you're showing right here, because I really love this scene. They're just talking about a puzzle, and when it's only because there's pieces missing.
Yeah.
And, but then all of a sudden they hear a noise and both of them stand up and they call to Howard, who they're both afraid of, but they want him to protect them.
Yeah.
What's going on? And I love that.
Yeah.
It was just like, because they're afraid of him, but they also know he's the protector.
Right. And he's the adult.
Yeah.
Like they're clearly over 18. They're 20-somethings, but he is the adult.
He's the adult.
He's the adult. Exactly. Yeah. And then, her own paranoia is alleviated at one point. Because she tries to escape.
Right.
She tries to escape and breaks a fucking bottle over Howard's face, over John Goodman's face, and then makes a run for it. And he's got like these steel reinforced doors and, like multiple padlocks. And I think it's the padlocks are like case hardened steel.
Yeah.
Like, he's really trying to keep everything out. And she makes it to the fucking door and there are like these lights out there. And I'm like, what the, and then, it is a car, but you see the woman that runs up and her face is just like half cooked off.
Yeah.
So.
And that was creepy. That really was, because when she was going, you just let me in. Just let me in. And all of a sudden her face started getting, I was like, oh my God, it just contorted. And when she started headbutting the glass, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, and he's like begging her, don't open the door, because like he's trying to. Like what we fail to understand, well, not what we fail to understand, but what we we begin to understand is that he's genuine. It's not an act. Like he's genuinely afraid of whatever. He doesn't know what's going on out there either, but he's genuinely afraid of it.
Right. Crazy recognizes crazy.
Yeah, and so he has a lot of difficulty conveying that to them.
Right.
Because they're afraid of him. But he's afraid of
out there.
Outside.
Yeah.
It's just he can't relate that to them until this happens.
Right.
And then when it happens, then she's like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Like, it's something, because he shows them the two pigs.
Right.
And they're like shredded and cooked and all cut up and fucked up. And, she's still not convinced. And then, when she just is about to get through the door, and the only thing he's begging her to do is just don't open that door.
Right.
And then she sees the woman and she's like, oh, okay, I fucked up here. My bad.
And it's funny because after the damage she did to him and stealing the keys and even flirting with the other guy a bit, that right before that happened where Howard got mad. When that was over, he didn't yell at her. He didn't smack her or anything else like somebody who was trying to get away from it. He just went like, "Now you see what happened? You see what's going on." Yeah. Because that reinforced him being the comforter, the father figure, the man in charge as well.
Yeah, the issue is that he is crazy.
Yeah.
You're trapped down there with a crazy person. Who's very unbalanced. Exactly. And now, he's in extreme isolation and he's making decisions for all these other people. I'm sure, it's probably one of those situations where if he was by himself, it probably would be better. But, because then there'd be nothing for him to feed on. Like I remember Jordan Peterson saying that once. The crazy isn't inside. The crazy is in the interactions with other people.
Yeah.
That's where the crazy is. The crazy, that's where it manifests itself. That kind of thing. And it's just, it's a fucked up situation that, only occurs within 2 or 3 or maybe 4 rooms.
Yeah. And as crazy as he is, and he is nuts, but it's I'm trying to remember the line he said in the movie when he said, "Why are people criticizing me because I didn't wait for the thing to happen to build the ark or to make preparations?"
Crazy building the ark after the flood starts.
Yeah, they're exactly. I love that line because first off, it also gives him a godlike figure or a godlike savior.
Yeah.
In Noah, but then he also he's right. As nuts as he is with what's going on outside and everything else, he's absolutely right. He was crazy enough to see it.
I think Emmett says he has a black belt in conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So he's like a real conspiracy theorist. And like he's got a fucking survival bunker down there. Yeah. He's not fucking around. He's not just talking. He's got, all of his shit down there. He's got, 15 years of military experience. It's just, it's a Navy boat, but he's got, so he's got some discipline, these sorts of things. He's prepared, these sorts of things. And it just so happens that, these two fucking wingnuts, fucking jump in there. But, I mean, because I think my favorite scene in the movie is when the Beatles start playing. I think we're alone now. Like after the woman comes to the door. Yeah,
and the Shondells, baby.
Oh, is that who it is? Okay, it's just they're like hanging for. There's a small period where they're like getting along.
Yeah.
He forgives her. He understands. She stitches him up. She understands now, and. Okay, let's try to do this.
And I love actually that's something that should be brought in too. The music and the soundtracks and the songs they were picking were great.
I think that was John Goodman's input. I can't see those millennials picking those oldies.
And that opening line of that song is "Children behave."
Yeah,
that's what they say when we're together.
Yeah,
and I'm going, Oh, I busted out laughing when I heard that because I was like, that's right on the money.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. 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 It's just it's a great film.
Yeah.
And I don't think people talk about this nearly enough. They don't talk about
Right.
this film nearly enough.
Yeah, and well, there's a couple of reasons for that because they tried it. To me, it's a force tied in the whole Cloverfield theory or myth.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so some people, if they don't agree, if it's like for the first movie, they dismiss it. I'm like, no, this is a good standalone film.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
You know, you should really watch it and leave your pretensions of it tying to the first movie out the door.
I think if they hadn't made it a Cloverfield movie, this would have been a lot bigger.
Oh, yeah.
But people they saw it and they're like, this has nothing to do with fucking Cloverfield. Like,
Exactly.
where's the kaiju? You know, where's the, the man and the woman who were, under the bridge, at the end, where's the army, where's the big fight? And it's none of that. And I think it was, Jar Jar Abrams said that it's like a spiritual sequel, a spiritual cousin. You know, this kind in the spirit of Cloverfield, because they've never gone and done a Cloverfield again, and I don't know if they ever will. I know Matt Reeves has talked about it. I don't know that you would need to, and maybe one of those things is just best if you.
Well, I think I've always found it
unless
kind
you're
of
going to
funny.
go full James Cameron and doing Aliens.
Well, I mean, I remember when the way they were talking about this, and there was the Cloverfield paradox.
Yeah,
which again was a good standalone movie on its own on Netflix, and then they put the kaiju in at the end, the tie-in, and I'm going, all right, if and that was a nice jump scare at the end, but I'm like, it's like you're forcing the tie-in.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about what's that one underwater?
Sure.
There's things on YouTube and everything else saying, "Oh, that's the fourth one. That's where the kaiju came from. Was from there." And I'm going.
Someone's been watching too much Pacific Rim. Yeah.
Wow, you're comparing apples to automobiles right now, man.
Yeah,
It's not.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I would love it if somebody said, "Okay, yeah, here you go. Here's a sequel." 8 of them show up.
Yeah. Maybe one day that's what we'll get. Maybe Matt Reeves will get back to it. Matt Reeves, probably working on the new Batmans right now. So,
yeah, and
it looks like those movies are going to happen.
And it's a shame because I think that's what affected this movie. I remember when it first came out, I'm like, I don't want to see a sequel to Cloverfield yet. And when I saw it the first time, I'm like, this isn't a sequel, but this is a good movie, man. This is a really, really good movie.
But I think just the opposite. The people who wanted the Cloverfield sequel didn't get it. And so they're like, fuck this movie, man. But it's a good movie.
It's a
really good movie.
And you're right. And it should be standing alone.
Yeah. And, we find out, of course, that, John Goodman, it looks like he did kill somebody. A woman, so, a young girl, she's wearing, I thought that was really creepy. That she's wearing the dead girl's clothes.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is fucked up. This is fucked up because he's giving her these clothes, because she comes in off of a car accident.
Right.
And he's like, these are my daughter Megan's clothes, and they're not. They're like a dead girl who who disappeared, was never seen again.
And he might have killed her.
Yeah, and you see the help scratched into that outer window down by the air duct, and they're like, okay, we've got to get the fuck out.
And let's give the air duct scene a round of applause.
Yeah,
because that's one of the moments where I say when you thought it couldn't get any tighter, tight. Yeah, and it reminded me a lot of Alien when they were cutting through the the dark tight places and everything else, and I'm like, boy, this is really good.
I love the way he tells it to her. He's like, if you get stuck, none of us can get to you. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck.
Yeah. Okay. And it was so matter of fact. I was just like, damn, that's funny.
Yeah. So, they've got to make this escape, and it turns into a clusterfuck. And then he really starts to go, like he snaps at that point.
Yeah.
And he starts to pull out the fucking vat of acid. And if somebody pulls out a vat of acid, things have gone very, very bad. Right.
Because you found out that they're going to betray him. And And he had a
He's
like
so
that. No,
he's
sorry,
so he's so paranoid. You can't get anything past him, and he's highly intelligent. Like he's not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the place is so small that if one thing is out of place, he notices it.
And he notices it.
Yeah,
he really does. When they got together to make the biohazard suit,
the
which
hazmat
I
suit.
loved, I really do. I'm like, boy, that's actually a cool looking suit. You know, even using the Pepsi bottle or the plastic soda bottles, I'm like, that's pretty decent. But and he's just, you could see him. He was like, kind of like when he was watching the movie. Can I help you? You're bugging me.
Yeah,
You're bugging me, boy. You know, go away.
Yeah.
And then when he started getting more and more, you could just see it. He was getting ticks in his,
Yeah.
I was
like, remember when they first start talking and he's like, why Emmett's telling jokes and you can see him start to clench and unclench his hands.
Yes.
You know, you can see it's like starting to grate on his nerves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he just starts yelling at everybody. You know, stop. Right. You know, you're not funny. You know, I don't think you're funny. She doesn't think you're funny. Like,
right.
Okay, don't fucking murder me. You know.
Well, you know why? Emmett was getting dominance and getting her attention.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he was like, "No, you can't have that."
Yeah.
I mean, and it was subtle things like that. Not so subtle, but this was simple. It wasn't overbearing, but it was so goddamn true.
Yeah.
It was like the big dog in the yard being challenged.
Yeah, very insecure.
By another dog, and I'm going, wow. And and again, it goes to Goodman, man.
Yeah,
Goodman does good. Goodman plays the guard dog crazy well.
Yeah. Yeah, which isn't something we see him in very much.
No, we don't.
You know, like when he did Kong Skull Island, you know, he's kind of like the scientist bureaucrat. You know, he has that funny little exchange at the beginning with Richard Jenkins, you know, and, you see him with Sam Jackson and Hiddleston and, all these different people. He's doing a good job, but he's not scary.
There was a movie. There were 2 or 3 movies that I saw Goodman being scary, but there was a movie in the late 80s, early 90s where John Goodman was with Denzel Washington and they were playing 2 cops in Philadelphia. And it was like a demon was possessing people to kill people. It was like one of those.
Fallen.
Yeah.
Fallen.
And Goodman, when he got possessed, I remember watching that at home, and I was watching it with my father and my mother, and my mom went, oh, shit. Because he was you just saw him turn. And it was so natural, but so goddamn scary.
And he starts singing Time Is On My Side.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Because he was one of the only people in the show that could sing.
Right.
Because he has musical chops too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's he's a big sincere rock and roll fan. So to belt out a little Rolling Stones, you're like, oh, okay, we've got that. Eric's been itching to cover that for a long time. We got to get to it.
That's a good one. I think that should be something that's tagged in. That's another underrated scary movie, and even Denzel does a great job in it.
Oh yeah. The Donald Sutherland's in that.
Oh yeah.
Elias Koteas.
Yep. And it's a good flick. And Goodman, man, he was young in his career, and he's like, you ain't intimidating me. None of you guys. I'm there. Yeah. This is my screen time.
Who else was in there? Who's James Gandolfini?
Yep.
James Gandolfini is in there. Yeah, there's a lot of good people in that movie.
A lot of good people in that movie. And again, it's very underrated.
Yeah.
It's one of those creepy type scary movies, type deal.
Yeah.
And it was funny too, because within this movie, when I'm assuming you're going to the next scene where Howard comes in, and he's cleaned up. I remember watching this movie going, oh shit, when he walked into the room with the ice cream.
Yeah.
And he's clean shaven and everything else.
And everything's just forgotten about.
Oh yeah.
Everything's just forgotten. Like he just murdered that guy and threw him in a vat of acid. Mm-hmm. And he's telling, you got to set the table now for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And you're just like, what the fuck, man?
Uh-huh. And he was going to interrupt our time together. He was going to now it's us.
Now it's just us.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's going to kill her. He's going to kill her.
And it's so old-fashioned creepy. He's not screaming. He's not.
It goes back to what you've been saying for a long time about people doing nothing and making it appear interesting.
Yeah, and he did.
He's not shouting. He's not screaming. Mm-hmm. He's not rolling his eyes up back in his head or anything like that. He's not talking to the sky.
You know what? One of the things he did that, and I don't know if it was the director's choice or what have you, but it was a visual. Did you notice the ice cream scoops? The actual balls of ice cream in the cone? They were perfect.
Oh, were they?
And I'm looking at it because I, for years, especially when I was younger, I worked in shops where I had to scoop a lot of ice cream. Dude, I never got ever a perfect scoop. That's so perfectly right. And I'm going, oh my. And I'm like, after really getting into this again, I'm going, that's just part of his psychosis, man. How many scoops did he make to make it perfect?
Somebody told me that once, a psychologist told me once that only psychotics can draw a perfect circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, only psychotics can draw a perfect circle. It used to be a hobby of mine. I used to try and fail miserably, but she told me one time, she's like, well, maybe that's good because
because only I heard that too.
Yeah.
And it was funny. And I went like this to the board, and the teacher looked at it and he goes, you're just off. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm dead. But that was one thing I noticed, and I was like, that's such a subtle way to add right to his
his crazy.
Yeah. So
we get to the escape, and I mean, she does a pretty good job of fucking him up.
Yes, she did.
The acid comes out for him. He gets badly burned. She sets the place on fire.
Yep. He tries to stab her through the vent.
Yeah, he tries to stab her through the vents.
Ooh.
It's bad. And then, she manages to get out. And I like that she didn't try to put the hazmat suit on. She just kind of tied it to her leg to drag behind.
Yeah.
She gets outside, puts the suit on. There's a quick scare where she rips the suit trying to get into the truck. Yep. And then the reveal starts.
Right.
Of what actually is outside, because she sees the birds.
Yes.
She's like, fuck it. Nothing's as bad as it seems. She rips the mask off. Air is breathable. And then the fucking reveal comes. And what did you think of that?
It was funny because in the distance, I'm like, I initially thought, oh, it's just, it's a plane initially. And I went, no, it's a ship. That's a spaceship.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that ain't crop dusting.
No, that's not crop dusting. It's not a Black Hawk. No.
And she turns around and she said, oh, what did she say? Oh, what the shit?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I busted out laughing because that's the first thing that popped in my head. Oh, he was lying. It's fake. Oh, fuck. It's not fake. It's not
fake. It turns out, that there is some kind of alien invasion happening. Yeah. It's just and for about 10 minutes, but really the only 10 minutes where it turns into like a more traditional sci-fi movie.
Exactly.
With alien invasions, and we've got Arrival coming up, and coming up on Wednesday, and I'm really looking forward to that because that's such a complete opposite of what standard sci-fi is.
I agree.
I can't wait to get into that. But this is for the last 10 minutes, it becomes a traditional sort of external sci-fi movie. You're fighting these, aliens, alien invasions, and but only for 10 minutes, and I just thought that was really fucking great. You didn't lean on it.
Yeah, and it worked even. I mean, when I was watching it, I was actually, at one point in time, I'm like, oh, she's just screwed. She's going to die. And then she makes the Molotov cocktail, thinking on her feet, moving real fast. And I'm going, and I remember sitting there thinking, get him, go. I was rooting for her. I still kept rooting for her, even after she got away from the mad dog. Now she was away from one monster to another.
Yeah, she kind of went from the frying pan into the fire, and we should mention, she doesn't really. Mary Elizabeth, Mary Elizabeth Winstead does a really good job in this.
Yes, she does.
I don't know her from. I didn't, like I said, I haven't seen Scott Pilgrim or any of the other movies she's in, but she was good in this. She was good in this.
I like her. I like her a lot in this, and it was funny because, and this is a credit to the writing. She did the hero's journey, throughout this whole movie. In the beginning, she was running away,
right?
And you heard like over the phone or whatever from like her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend saying, "You're always running." And throughout this movie, she was running. Well, and then she eventually learned to stop and fight.
Yeah,
for lack of a better. And I really got it. And it was all laid out in front of you. You knew that she knew how to sew because she wanted to do this. You knew it was all laid out, so everything was believable for her, and she handled it well. It could have been very much like, very blasé handled, but it was done well, and it was by her. She did more with her eyes and her looks and her expressions by taking in what she was seeing, and it really, really worked.
And then, as she in the final scene, she goes towards where people are asking for help.
As opposed to running away.
Yeah, she's not going for help. She's going to help.
Right.
And that's kind of how the movie ends.
Yeah. She went from the victim to the hero.
Yeah.
Type deal.
Yeah.
And it was very natural, or was laid out naturally. It didn't feel forced type deal.
No.
And sometimes you see that in a movie when that happens. It was a slow evolution, but it really, really worked.
Yeah. It's a good movie. I didn't remember how it ended, but watching it just now, and this is streaming on Pluto TV again. For anybody who wants to catch it, you should. It's about an hour and 40 minutes, a little bit longer with the advertisements from Pluto,
but not that many.
No, but it's a worthwhile. Yeah. No, not that many. Not like Escape from New York was.
Yeah, not like every 3-4 minutes.
Yeah. But it's fucking worthwhile.
It is worthwhile, man. It's worthwhile to watch and enjoy.
And if you're looking for it as a direct sequel to Cloverfield, it's not the case. But as a standalone movie, it's really fucking good.
Yeah.
So go check it out.
And if anything, if all else fails, go and watch John Goodman give you lessons on what acting is like, because he was amazing in this movie. He really, really was.
Very minimalist performance. Very minimalist performance.
And you're right. I cannot remember the other gentleman who was in this, but he did a great job too.
Yeah.
And that's my fault. I cannot remember his name.
The actor's name?
The actor's name. Miles was his character name.
John Gallagher Jr.
Yeah.
So I don't know him from anything either. John Gallagher Jr.
I watched him and I'm going, he was doing a great job in this.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good. He was kind of like this intermediary. But, kind of like working as the buffer and the very inadequate buffer between Goodman and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. You could tell he was.
They were all broken in this movie. I kind of like that too. He was broken with his thing about not going to college and everything else, and she had her issues, and Goodman obviously had his issues.
Yeah,
but they were all kind of broken. But she's the one that healed. I like that too.
Yeah,
in this, and again, that wasn't over the top. It wasn't beat you over the head with it, but it was enjoyable.
No, yeah, it was good. I mean, Goodman was a bad person.
Oh God, yeah.
Goodman was a bad person. Neither of these two were bad people. They just, they had their faults, and he kind of got chewed up he gave his life for her.
Yeah,
because he lied and said that it was him, and he was trying to steal the gun, and he's like, "I'm sorry." He goes, "You're sorry." He goes, "I accept your apology," and then he blows his brains out.
Wow.
Yeah,
it was so casual.
Yeah, I accept your apology. Bang. And so, good stuff. Good stuff.
I forgive you. Go to heaven.
What? 2016.
Yeah.
2016 was a good year. Arrival on Wednesday, also a 2016 movie. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
All right. I think we're at the point in the stream where we rate the movie. This channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 and up by half. So 0, 0.5, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather eat a cup of mayonnaise than watch this movie again. All the way to 5, which is this is cinema, this is the destination, this is why we talk about movies in the first place. What would you give 10 Cloverfield Lane?
You know, it was funny because after I watched it today, I knew this was coming, and I'm still debating in my head on this because I was it a perfect movie? No, there were some things that but it was really goddamn good. Yeah, so I'll give it a 4.
Okay.
I was debating between a 4 and a 3.5. I'm like, no, I'm going with a 4. If anything, just for Goodman's performance as well, and everything else on it. But it hit all my criteria of good story, good plot, good acting. The through line was well done, and it really set you up of being, in that claustrophobic feeling that you were trapped. You were trapped with the monster, and then when you got out, there was the monster.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm going to go with a 4 as well. I was actually debating a 4.5, but I don't think it was that good.
No,
I don't think it was that good. But I would give it a solid 4 out of 5. You had really solid performances and all the things we talked about. There's a lot of acting. There's no special effects except like in the last 10 minutes of the film. It's just about 3 people trapped in a bunker. And you don't know what's going on in the outside world.
Yep.
For a shoestring budget, it totally works. So I'm giving it a solid 4 and happy to recommend it. If you haven't seen it, check
I would
it
have
out.
given it. I would have given it a 4.5 if John Goodman kept singing the song. The one time he walked up to the jukebox and started dancing.
Oh yeah. That was funny.
Busted out laughing. I'm like, if he finished that song, it would have gotten a 4.5.
Yeah, because they were already planning to mug him or do whatever they were going to do. And there he is. He just starts dancing. Or like when he's playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
I see you. I see you all the time. Or they were Pictionary or something.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't, he's getting all, Emmett's getting, I don't know what you're talking about. I really, Santa Claus. Yes, I'm Santa Claus. I'm Santa Claus.
I did. That was some fun. That was some fun moments, man.
It's a very good script. It's a very good script.
Absolutely.
All right. Do you need to plug anything?
No, not right now. There might be something coming up in a few days. It might be around by arrival. I got to talk to somebody.
Okay.
Something might be coming up, but I don't want to jinx it.
Okay. All right. We will be back on Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
Talking about Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, which for me is probably the best first contact movie out there. I can't wait to get into it. I believe you'll be here. Eric will be here. Possibly Ryan will be here. We'll see how it plays out. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So Wednesday on this backup channel, American Werewolf EU, you'll see us to talk about
2016.
Arrival, 2016's
Love that movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It is available also on Pluto TV right now, but I happen to own a copy of the Blu-ray, so I watched that last night, and it's great to fucking watch.
Yep.
All right, my thanks to John K. Alvarez of 9 Cloverfield Lane for giving us a peek behind the curtain as to what was happening with his neighbor. It's like that Dahmer miniseries where they dedicate the whole episode to the neighbor.
Well, it's Howard was always quiet, but Marion and Frank were such pigs. And
yes, so you knew it was going to go bad.
Absolutely.
All right, so we will be back on Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
And everybody have a good night, and we'll see you all in the next video. All right,
peace.
Take care, everybody.